Hello, all you train dispatchers out there. I'm Julian Ursig, and today we're talking about the train dispatcher problem. And this isn't saying that train dispatchers are the problem, contrary to popular opinion. This is about what the train dispatcher problem is. You'll see people write papers about it and things like that, and why we get paid to do the job that we do. So, this is basic background stuff. The railroad exists to move stuff, freight people from point A to point B, and we're a part of that. By the time that the dispatcher gets involved, the individual people and the individual carloads have been combined into trains. So we deal with passenger trains with people going many different places from many different places, and we deal with freight trains with many different customers, cars going many different places. What our job is to now move trains from point A to point B on our territory. So, what's the problem with this? Well, the problem is we have limited track. There would be no reason for a dispatcher to exist if the train could just run and the other train could just run and there was never any opposition and there was never any challenges and there was nothing interfering with their movement. But that's not the world we live in. So our job is to get the trains from point A to point B using limited track as cheaply as possible. Now, besides moving our trains from point A to point B, we also have to facilitate maintenance on our track. Because if we don't maintain our track, eventually we won't get to move trains. This isn't good for the railroad. It's something that it would be better if we didn't have to do, but we have to do it. It's a necessary cost of running the business. But if the goal is to make decisions that minimize our cost, it brings an interesting question. How do we know what our decisions cost? And this is actually a really hard question because we don't know each customer's car on the train, much less know what our contractual obligations are to that customer and what it might cost if they don't make it. We don't know what the fate of these cars are going to be when they get to this terminal. We don't know if there's something else this guy could work on if we don't let him on the tracks now to run his trains. We don't know how much they're getting paid. We don't know how our decisions are going to affect the terminals. Maybe they'll need to put an extra switch crew on because the trains come bunched together. This is an exceedingly complicated question and not one easy to solve. So, what do? Well, we have to figure out an approach to the problem. And what we typically do is we say time equals money. So it's a simplifying assumption, and sometimes it's not true. But what we will try to do is we'll try to minimize delays to trains and be as productive as we can with our people working on the tracks and use that as a shorthand for minimizing the cost of this problem. Now, even still, there's simplifications involved in this. So, for example, you'll see papers written about optimizing the train dispatcher problem, and they will look at just the dispatcher territory and what is the best solution to minimize the delay of moving these trains given sidings and what time the trains come, etc. But our decisions affect the terminals and everything beyond that. And many times, if you include a bigger view of the problem, it very much changes what the best solution is. For example, if this terminal is full, there is no reason to delay this train to run this train to their terminal, and then it's going to sit there because the terminal is full. So many times, simple approaches to solving the train dispatcher problem are not optimum because they don't take a big enough view of the problem that train dispatchers are facing. So, in a nutshell, that's what the train dispatcher is. We are going to try to make the most of our limited track, get all our trains moved, get people working on the track, and do it as a minimum cost that we can, generally using delay as a substitute for cost because we can't actually calculate how much our decisions cost. Anyways, this is a brief introduction, and we'll be talking a lot more about these things. I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching.
'Cause I got you on my mind, freight trains in my